Before I go crazy into this, the footage in the background is going to be a variety of historical Wintersday content I have made. There is like a crazy long marathon series I did back for Guild Wars 1 that has like 600 views per episode, so barely anyone's ever seen it. That's where a lot of this footage is from. There is a link in the description if you want to check it out. Listen to me a few years ago with an incredibly deep voice, sounding very different, way more British. Anyway, there you go. Hello everyone, I was gonna go and have a lovely hot winter shower, but just before I left I realised ArenaNet put up a blog post today. It is Tuesday, this is the day they usually display some kind of trailer for us for the next Living World patch, and it seems they haven't done it this week unless I'm recording the video way too early and a trailer will appear later on in the night, in which case I'll talk about that tomorrow. But they have put up a blog post this week detailing the changes that are going into the game over the winter period. Now, a lot of you guys knew very early on, as soon as the second half of Season 2 was announced, that the plot would clash with Wintersday, and many of us were kind of on the fence as to how ArenaNet would deal with it. Obviously, the dream is they can actually do, you know, 4, 5 episodes in a row without having some kind of a break. I mean, we're really grasping at straws at this point with so many breaks coming out all over the place. And it seems they have failed to do that. Not only will there be a break for the finale of the season, but it will actually be a longer break than I was expecting. My worst case scenario I was expecting was we'd have, you know, the Wintersday patch come out next Tuesday, and then the immediate Tuesday after that, perhaps New Year's, whatever, we would then have the finale of the season, and that would be kind of a cool way to wrap up 2014. They're not doing that at all. They're having the break, and then Season 2 returns on January the 13th. And this is pretty bad news in my opinion. This really, really sucks. I think we are going to have to just face facts here, guys, that we're not going to be getting this kind of dream bi-weekly schedule for the Living World at all. They're not going to be able to do a whole season on bi-weekly. They're not even really going to be able to do half a season bi-weekly as far as we can see for now. But that's not to say that there isn't other stuff going on with the game during this break. They are actually pushing out big changes to all 3 of the major game types. Yeah, that includes PvP and World vs. World, in addition to the holiday celebrations, and that's what they're talking about on this blog. So I'm going to push my disappointment to the side a bit, maybe find a bit of motivation in there and suggest that, you know, because they're having this extra break for the finale, and you compare the Season 1 finale, which if you really think about it, the last 4 patches of Season 1 were really, really top tier patches. They brought us the Worm, the Marionette, loads of different patches around Lion's Arch, and great meta events there. Ultimately, the defeat of Scarlet, the reveal of Morgemoth, that stuff for the finale last year was very significant. And maybe they're going to try and match it. Remember that when the second half of Season 2 started rolling out, they kept throwing around this term, point of no return. Now, that's really not had any relevance to any patch at all, but this tagline's been around, and it seems that whatever this finale is, they're going to try and do it on the same hype level as we had last year, and this idea of a point of no return is going to come forward. I'll read you guys the start of this blog post. They said, that a few months ago they announced Guild Wars 2's Living World experience was launching on a path that would result in our story and the whole world of Tyria reaching a point of no return. It's interesting to see them say stuff like this now that we basically already live in a world where there was a point of no return, right? Wasn't the destruction of Lion's Arch sort of a point of no return? Or are they saying, you know, because it can be rebuilt, even though it hasn't been yet, which I wholeheartedly still agree with. I love that the place hasn't been repaired yet. Are they saying that this is going to be even more devastating than the Lion's Arch thing? I've talked a little bit on the channel about this idea that they're constantly going to have to one-up themselves, be a little bit careful of that. But yeah, I mean, aside from another city being destroyed, like the Grove, going back to some of these early Season 1 speculations about waypoints, for example, that maybe tons of waypoints are going to be destroyed, or something even more major than that, something real gameplay-wise that might be a big point of return. I find it hard to speculate on exactly what's going to happen. You know, just characters die, cities get destroyed, and we roll with the punches. They go on to say, you know, this is kind of the stuff that we've done this season. We've been to Glint's Lair, we've been tracking down the leader of the Zephyrites. Now the Pact, they have this indomitable force of airships ready to assault the jungle. We're there with this mysterious cave, the seal of the Forgotten painted across it. There is a reasonable setup to the finale, but we're gonna have to wait for it. January 13th. Yeah, really stop for 1 second. It's only December 9th right now. That is over a month away. So, what are they doing to fill the space? Well, let's talk about Lion's Arch again. Lion's Arch is destroyed. Last time we had Wintersday, we had Hobotron and the Minstrel, I can never say his correct name, doing their little charity things. There was the Holiday Dolly Act that was moving around. All the stuff with Toymaker Ticks, if you guys have never done Wintersday before. The first Wintersday we ever saw, we had a giant airship flying all the way around Tyria before ultimately landing in Lion's Arch and giving us these cool little instances. Kind of like a tower defense-ish style game that, in my opinion, they should be continuing to tweak. You know, last year they should have tweaked it to make it a bit more fun. This year they should tweak it again to make it a bit more fun, because it's a cool idea. It just falls slightly shy, you know, just like South Sun Survival, stuff like that, in my opinion. But those should be back. However, Lion's Arch is a wreck now, a complete wreck, and they are not hosting Wintersday this year. So, again, we get into this discussion. ArenaNet set up the first year. Festivals, these were going to be put in on the first year, and then they were going to be returning every year later with minor changes. That's the deal here, except they're going to have to completely redirect a different area of the world. Who is hosting Wintersday this year? They could have gone in a crazy direction here and said, oh, yeah, the Asura are going to host it, because, you know, Tix isn't Asura or whatever. Oh, maybe they're going to say, oh, the Char are going to host it. They're going to decorate the Black Citadel in some way, but make it all Char-themed and do all this crazy stuff. But ultimately, because they're not, I assume, looking to change the content too much, they have settled on the humans hosting Wintersday. It does fit. You look at the roots of the festival, especially with the Gw2 versus Dwayne stuff and so forth. It does make most sense in lore. Divinity's Reach is the main place for Wintersday, and this will mean a lot of new decorations, a lot of new cool stuff. This is why I think potentially there could be a trailer in the wings somewhere, because there should be stuff to show off with how that place looks. And all of the Wintersday stuff will be featured around there this year. That in itself is a pretty positive change for me. You also have to consider that though there was a bit of an outrage in the community when it was revealed Halloween wasn't going to have much change, what they did to the rewards in Halloween, the minor things that they did alter, were very satisfactory. You know, the stuff like the Hexed outfit, that's, you know, stuff that we didn't have to buy in the gem store anymore, the addition of like a totally new farm in the game, the Maze Barn farm, stuff like that. It was substantive, and so I am hoping Wintersday will follow on theme like that. The core content that they've always had there is fun nonetheless, right? So it should be kind of fun for us in PvE at least, right? More achievements, all that kind of stuff. You know what to expect at this point. Just a second ago, though, I did mention to you guys there would be other changes in the other game types. If you've been keeping close with the PvP changes, I documented a bunch of them more solidly in yesterday's video. You'll know that from the blogs, the devs are looking to add seasons to PvP. So if you are completely unfamiliar with what this idea is, it means that while you PvP in a specific window of time, if you play ranked PvP, you'll get your rank, and then when this window of opportunity ends, that rank is like set in stone, and it's like, okay, for the first ever season of Guild Wars 2's PvP, you hit rank 50, you were the 50th best ever PvPer, and then you're rewarded based on that. And then a couple of months later, a new season will come around, or a new league, I'm not sure quite which they're going to be calling it, and when this comes around, everyone in the game's rank is reset to 0 again. You get to fight from the bottom up again, and now this time maybe you do a bit worse because you didn't have such a good team, maybe you do even better this time and you're rewarded even better. And so they're like these windows of opportunity. They're very common in many games, especially any game that tries to go esports. I shudder to really get into this discussion on this video, but I do think this will be a positive thing for Guild Wars 2. They've mentioned they wanted to do it for a while, but these things don't come easy, so they're doing a test season, and this is what they've mentioned on the blogs, and this will be beginning as soon as Wintersday drops. Next Tuesday, December 16th, Wintersday begins, Divinity's Reach gets decorated, all that stuff, and this season begins in PvP. So over this holiday season, you have the time, hopefully people are off of work, they're off of school, they can take their time to form their teams, and you can actually compete in this test season and see how that goes. That's really the beginning of things for Guild Wars 2. I mentioned in yesterday's video that not so many people are playing ranked right now. Well, as soon as this season begins, then that's your big incentive to start playing ranked. And we've got a bit of a heads up here too, so if you want to get in there and start practicing, that's a cool idea. And it's funny, now as soon as that begins, I know it's technically only a test season, but once that has begun, it's sort of like PvP is finally at the place it should have been at launch. Decent rewards, no like muddy matchmaking, punishments for people quitting, build locking is actually in place everywhere. There's a variety of maps, there's more than one game type available, there is spectator mode. Oh, it's pretty good. The only thing they ruined was the ranks. Otherwise, damn, yes, imagine if PvP was like this when Guild Wars 2 came out, eh? But yeah, so that should be kind of fun, and it's something for people in TPVP who are often very neglected. Let's talk about more neglected people, the World vs. World players. This is crazy interesting. Now, there have been, on the forums, if you've been looking carefully at, like, dev statements, the odd mention here or there that kind of, they're going to start doing weird things with World vs. World. One thing floating around was the idea that World vs. World wouldn't even be based on servers, perhaps, and instead, guilds could form alliances, and it was a, like, alliance v alliance v alliance kind of combat, which would resolve a few issues that World vs. World faces. I think there's a lot of inherent things to World vs. World that just make it not very fun as a game type to me, but I don't want to get into those discussions. They are doing something interesting, though. This is one of those weird things. So they read, and I'll just read this verbatim for you guys so that you're on the exact same page as me. In World vs. World from December 16th, so again, same patch, all three game types are getting something, to January 13th, which is when the finale begins, we'll feature our first non-tournament World vs. World event. So this isn't like a tournament coming up. They're calling it the World vs. World Sneak Attack. They say, join us as we turn the rules of World vs. World upside down for 4 weeks. Every player you kill in World vs. World will grant your world a point. Earn an extra point by using a finisher while your world has the Borderlands Bloodlust mechanic. Objectives under attack will not display their customary white sword, and the Mist War Summons buff will give you an extra 15% World vs. World experience, 50% magic find, and 15% experience on kills in World vs. World. If all goes well, this will just be the first of many special events in World vs. World. So it's very tame. Basically, they're just getting rid of PPT, as far as I can see, right? Is this the point? Or this is being added in addition to PPT, so, you know, killing people has a bit more emphasis. A really key thing is this removal of the cross swords on the UI. So this will actually change, I guess, in a big way, how locations are attacked and stuff. But I mean, if there's lots of heavy scouting anyway on tier 1 and, you know, some of the more competitive matchups, will this really change very much? I hate being such a noob when it comes to World vs. World, so I could talk a bit more intelligently about it. But they are changing things, and hopefully, if they do ultimately consider this to have gone well, then we may even see in future events more radical stuff. Like, you know, some of the crazy stuff people have speculated about before, like permadeath and whatever. You only get to go in with one character. I doubt we'll ever quite get that far, but you can see how they would shake things up in World vs. World. Whether that should be the constant state of it from evermore, you know, have these like flux mechanics going around and every now and then World vs. World feels different, or whether eventually they should settle on a real kind of rule set, I don't know. But I think World vs. World should be excited about a bit of change, and hopefully it goes well. But there you go, guys. That's pretty much everything they talked about in the blog post. Not too much. I will not hide from it. It's a massive disappointment to me that we are waiting so long for the finale of this season, because it doesn't just mean we're waiting for this, like, finale. It means we're waiting even longer for a potential Season 3, or, you know, news about the future and expansions and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit frustrating, I must be honest. At least there's going to be some changes in the other game types. I'll keep you guys posted how they go. This all launches next Tuesday, the return of Wintersday. Hopefully it will be like Halloween and surprise me and be more fun than I'm expecting. Anyway, thanks very much, guys, for watching. I'll see you next time.